doing things like planning a funeral. I remember being in the hospital after Paul died and saying to one of the nurses after he'd passed away, I'm like, what do I do now? Like, what happens? I didn't know. It didn't come with an instruction manual. And she's like, now you need to ring a funeral home. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So I had the older girls with me. We took them home and then we started planning a funeral.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Well, this is the Fine Answers podcast, and today I've got one of our avid listeners. How many episodes have you listened to, Karen? Tell me all of them.
How many have you done?
134, I think. You might be about 100. I think this might be 134. I better not say exactly what number. It might not go in that order, but
I reckon I've listened to the majority of them.
Okay.
They're my home driving podcast. In the morning I listen to the radio. On the way home it's a podcast. So yeah, they pop up every now and then.
Have you had a favourite episode?
Actually, I did enjoy the one that Peter did with, who's his mate? Is it Peter Cook? No?
Oh, Brian Cook.
Brian Cook.
Yeah, Brian Cook and Jess Anderson.
Yeah, I do enjoy their banter and conversation and listening to a bit of the stuff from years gone by.
Yeah, we'll have to get the three of those. So the three uni mates from years gone by, get them back on the podcast. I think anything that's got Peter on it, people generally gravitate towards. I think our first episode, which was called Russ Never Sleeps, which is kind of a play on Peter's philosophy of just going really hard in life. And
it was a song.
It's a song by Neil Young. So it's you're better to what is it? You're better to rust than fade away, something like that. Basically saying you may as well, better to burn out than fade away.
Yeah, that was another good one. I did enjoy that.
Yeah, okay. Well, Peter will be listening to this and he'll hear that and he'll love it. So, Karen Wright, thank you for how long have we been planning to do this podcast? I know I said I'd have you on the podcast probably
about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When I came in for my appointment, you first asked me then, and my answer was, I'm not that interesting.
Yeah.
And you said,
no, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you definitely are, and you're someone I think about a lot when I think about, financial planning and preparing for sort of life's challenges. You're someone that comes to mind, and I know we've got some sort of shared experiences in that regard, but I want to get to that. But before we kick in, I want the listeners to know a little bit about you. So who is Karen Wright? Where did you hail from? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school?
All right, so I'm very much Geelong born and bred. So grew up in Belpost Hill, went to primary school down the road in Bell Park at Holy Family, then transitioned off to high school at Clonard, and then, sort of spread my wings a little bit and headed off to uni in Frankston, where I studied my bachelor in teaching and would come home on the weekends, work in a pizza shop, go back again.
What pizza shop?
It's called Belpost Hill Pizza.
Okay.
So it was our regular one,
Yep.
and I used to deliver the pizzas up there and then transition to making them.
On your bike or in the car?
In their pizza car.
Okay.
Used to go flat out at 60 k's an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a pizza on the roof, or was it just
No, just a little bit unmarked, yeah. Keep it
cool.
incognito.
Down low.
Yeah.
Little bit back to school, did you have any idea what you wanted to do when you left school? Like, was teaching, what did your parents do?
Mum was a stay-at-home mum. Dad was a town planner with the show of Corio back in the day, and then off to City of Greater Geelong when that merged. No, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I did enjoy being around kids, and a paediatrician sort of flew around there for a little bit, and I was like, that's actually a little bit of hard work. So, then transitioned to preschool teaching.
Were you a good student?
I had the intelligence, but I was also about having fun. So I do remember getting kicked out of my Year 9 geography class.
What did you do?
I came in late and swung on the top of the door, and the teacher had enough of me and said, "You're not coming to my class anymore. Head off to Mr. Shannon's office." And I sat out the front of that.
Principal?
Yeah, he was the principal. Yeah. Sat out the front of there every time we had a geography class and did my homework. So that was good.
I've noticed you've got a very good memory. You said before we started that I'll have to remind you, but my thoughts, what I remember of you the entire time I've known you is you've had a photographic memory. Have I embellished that? Or?
I think I used to be really good with numbers and number plates
and tax file number on the podcast,
which I can do. But I was good at things back then, like back in the day when you used to have to know people's phone numbers. I used to, have a pretty good memory for that.
So do you think that's ingrained in you, or do you think that was learnt?
I think I learnt it, but it's probably not so great now, with everything else that you put in the filing cabinet. Gets a bit full.
How full is your filing cabinet? Pretty full?
Pretty full.
Yeah. So back to going to Frankston for university. You completed your bachelor degree?
Yep.
You came back?
Yep.
And where was your first gig?
So my first job was at the City of Geelong doing their city learning and care at the childcare centre was on Purnell Road. It's not there now.
Yep.
So I was there for about 4 years. Decided I wanted to do preschool teaching in a sessional kinder because that was in a childcare centre. And then moved over to another preschool also in Corio and then fell pregnant. So
this is circa what? This is circa 2000?
No, well, a bit earlier, 1997, 98.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I had Cassidy in 2002, so sort of in that block of time there.
Yep. Okay. So that's right. I was actually looking at Cassidy's birthday, and because I correlate her and Cody together, and she's a year younger than Cody.
Yes.
Yep. Cool. So how was that time at City Grad Geelong?
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. I was probably one of the younger staff members there, and everyone else was sort of 30s, 40s, 50s. So I learnt a lot about nurturing and working with groups of children. And we had a reunion maybe 5 years ago, and caught up with some of the girls then. It was really nice to see them.
Cool. Now, somewhere along the lines of you leaving school, I'm guessing, when did you meet Paul?
So he actually worked at the pizza shop.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. So he'd broken up with his partner and had 2 children, and then he was just looking for a way to keep himself
looking for
busy.
someone to drive the pizza car.
He actually used to make the pizzas. So that's how we met. We just were friends there, and the boss and I and he were all friends, and some of the other workers, and we'd go out sometimes after the pizza shop would close.
So when did you meet? What year was that?
Oh, well, when I was at uni, probably 94, 95.
Okay.
Sort of around then.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 94, 95, did you know him before uni or after? It was after uni?
Before, during. So, because I was working while I was at uni, coming to and from, on the weekends, and that's where I met him.
When did you get married?
2004.
Okay.
So we did things in sort of reverse order.
Well, that's okay.
Bought a house, had a child, then got married.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
So how long had you been together when you were married? Close to 10 years?
Not quite, maybe 8. Yeah, 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So married in 2004, because I said to you before we started recording, I had to go and refresh my memory on dates, like how long you and I have known each other. And it turns out that next year, I think in May of next year, it'll be 20 years that you've been a client of their business and that we've been friends.
Yes.
And that probably brings us to like a fairly significant point in your life. And that was, that moment occurred a little bit before we met. But maybe you can tell me what happened. So Paul and you were married in 2004.
Yep. Maybe a year or so later, we found out he was unwell. So he ended up having kidney cancer, but by the time we'd found it, it had already spread to his liver and lungs. So he went on a trial drug treatment in combination. So we used to have to go to the Box Hill Hospital once a fortnight. He'd have an infusion, come home with some injections that he'd have to do at home. And he was having some really good results from that. And we were doing that for about 12 months, and then he found another tumour. So at that stage, they stopped the trial of treatment because it wasn't working anymore if he was getting new tumours. And so, that was probably in the December. And then May of 2006, he actually passed away.
Yep. And I think that, so it was not too far after that I reached out. How did you find us? How did you find?
So when I was working, I was actually working at a label company that's local in Geelong, and a friend of mine
Stuck on you?
Yep.
That's
a friend
right.
of mine was working with me, and she said, we were pretty close, so she knew what was going on. She said, you need to go and see Jay. So I rang up, made an appointment, and here we are.
You remember who that friend was?
Yeah, Raylene. Reed.
Oh, Raylene. Okay, shout out to Raylene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done, Raylene. Thanks for making that that recommendation or that referral.
Yeah.
Maybe before I get to what I suppose we talked about when we met, tell me a little bit about how it might sound obvious, but I want to hear it from you. Like how difficult was it? How challenging was that? Like you just had Cassidy, so how old was Cassidy at this point?
She was 3, nearly 4, so she turned 4 in the July. So I had a 3 3/4-year-old who was not understanding everything that was going on, but knew enough to know that Daddy wasn't coming home. We also had I have 2 stepdaughters that were 14 and 17 at the time, so they were around quite a bit when it was all happening and he was unwell. So, but it was pretty tough. And I look back and, over the years see other people in similar situations and talking about the grief process, like it doesn't get easier, it just changes. But having had Cassidy at that time, like she was a big reason I'd get out of bed, a big reason that I had to, make dinner and things like that. So had it been that I didn't have a little person depending on me, things might have looked a little bit different. But I'm also I don't get shot down and stay down. Like I get shot down, but I'll go again and just keep making my way through what I have to do. And so as much as that time was really hard and, doing things like planning a funeral. I remember being in the hospital after Paul died and saying to one of the nurses after he'd passed away, I'm like, what do I do now? Like, what happens? I didn't know. It didn't come with an instruction manual. And she's like, now you need to ring a funeral home. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So I had the older girls with me. We took them home and then we started planning a funeral.
Had you given, like if you think back to when Paul and yourself were planning your future, at any point did you have conversations or contemplate what life would be like without each other?
No, that was definitely not something we talked about so he was 11 years older than me. So I was, 27, lost him at 30. He was 41. So it wasn't something that was on our radar. We hadn't spent enough of our life together to be making those future plans and thinking about that stuff. I guess, the old adage, it's not going to happen to me.
Yeah, and I sound like a broken record, and again, you know me well, and you know my family story, which is one of the reasons why your circumstance, well, time-wise, it ran quite close to Cody, my nephew's losing his father, and being in what I'd consider to be a relatively similar situation where, not a lot of thought had been given to what life would look like for a family without, the major breadwinner, the father, and it's probably driven a lot of my advice and a lot of the conversations that I have with clients now. Like in being, a father of 5 kids myself, I am at pains to try and encourage people every opportunity I get to say we need to sort of prepare for impact.
Yep.
Like we've got to prepare for a worst case scenario that in a lot of instances we don't even really want to talk about.
No.
Like that idea of talking about. I remember, I've said it on the podcast plenty of times, I remember Kari and I going and getting our wills done and Kari crying because she didn't want to do it, because she didn't want to even think about the idea of me not being there. And it's a hard one, but it's one that hopefully the message and in this conversation and sort of subsequent ones that people have in their own families, they start to think about, or at least contemplate, what would we do? What would we do in the event that we were to lose a spouse, a major part of a family group? We haven't even got to when we met, but just before I do, if you look back now, like if you could wave a magic wand and have done things differently, what would you have changed other than obviously waving a wand and having Paul still be with us? What would you have done differently?
I probably would have insured ourselves better for that, like you said, preparing for impact. So, yeah, I've actually spoken to a lot of friends and say my situation wasn't ideal. We were underinsured in ways, and friends that I have that earn good money, I say, get some income protection insurance, get some, all the insurances that I've got, line up, get all your stuff done. I don't care who you go to. If you need someone, come and see Jay. But yeah, having insurances definitely is, on the radar of conversations that I have with people.
Yeah, and isn't insurance a funny thing? Like you pay a premium for something that you actually are hoping you never claim upon.
Exactly.
Yet it's never a problem until it's a problem. And then you thank whoever, God or whoever you want to thank, that you've actually got it in place.
Yeah.
I think the other thing when we talk, because maybe if we talk about when we caught up in sort of the May of 2006, and I'm presented with a client who has just lost her husband. She's got a young daughter. Cassidy was how old? 3. The other thing that we know that doesn't exist when someone passes is their income, like their ability to actually generate an income for that household. So all of a sudden we're left with a single mother with a young daughter, assets, properties, debts, trying to work out what does it actually cost me to run this show and what am I going to do for the future. So when you think about how did you, ignoring the financial advice for the minute, but how do you think you actually got through that? Like when you look back now and think, shit, it's presented with a bunch of challenges there. And I know there's probably some challenges we won't talk about on the podcast, but you were presented with plenty of financial challenges as well as personal relationship challenges. What do you think was able to get you through?
It's a triple-barreled question, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, I like triple-barreled questions.
Which one do you want me to start with?
You can pick whichever one you like.
What got me through? Look, the support personally from my friends and family, that definitely helped. We were kind of lucky in a way that with our home, we'd built a house that we moved into in 2000, so it wasn't that old, but we didn't have a huge mortgage on it. So once Paul had passed away, I could manage that. I was still working part-time, had some Centrelink income. So financially, that's how I survived. I think too, whilst he was unwell, he had more some income protection insurance. And so that gave us 85% of his wage. And so he wasn't working for about 16 months. He tried to go back a little bit when he was feeling well, but most of the time he was not able to work. So having majority of his income still coming in whilst he was recovering was very, very helpful. And so it meant that I could also be his carer, but work part-time. And yeah, if he was well enough, he'd stay home with Cassidy. Otherwise, she'd go to my parents or whatever. So yeah, having the support of the people around us definitely helped. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny when you said before that we were, we're underinsured, and I would categorically agree with that. Like I agree that if you could go back in time, you'd make sure that you had, appropriate insurances in place. But Paul did a bunch of things right. Like there was a bunch of things that he actually did well. And I was looking back through sort of files and like a couple of things. Paul did have a will.
Yep.
Right. Paul did have some insurances. So there were things like there was a little bit of mortgage protection insurance, which helped knock off a little bit of debt. As you said, he had income protection that helped with sort of providing an income for that period of time. I think there was some other insurances, small insurances with work and the like that helped. So I think these are all in sort of degrees, aren't they? Like you can be in degrees where you've got everything sort of dialed in. You're going to be in a situation where you have nothing organised, and then you kind of be in the middle where you've got a few of those things organised, wills, powers of attorney. But I think for the lesson, when I look at your situation and the lesson learned that I try to apply to other people, there's a couple of things that people don't think about. Some of these get a little bit technical, but people have a sense that it'll be okay. No matter what happens, it'll be okay. I've got some insurance in superannuation. It's fine. I'm sure that will go to the right people at the right time. The reality is, for most people, that unless you're consistently reviewing things like, do I have a will? Do I have the right people? So the right people as my trusted executors. Do I have the right people in terms of the beneficiaries, like who I'd like to actually be in receipt of those funds? Things like superannuation, most people don't know that superannuation isn't an estate asset. So it doesn't form part of your estate, and therefore it's kind of, in some instances, it's left up to the discretion of someone else, not you or the estate or the will to decide where that goes. So I think one of the lessons for listeners out there today is to not assume that you've got the right amount, not assume that everything is okay, that it takes 5 minutes. Honestly, it takes a lie. It probably takes 30 minutes to actually have a conversation with someone to run through kind of a mental checklist of, do I have these things in order? And that 30 minutes to actually check whether or not your beneficiaries are right. They're the right type of beneficiary. You've got wills, you've got powers of attorney. They're valid. All of those things are fairly painless to check. Yep. They can be extremely painful if they're not right at the time.
And doing the review as well. So when I come in here every so often, I'm reminded to go and update my will, which when Cassidy was 3 and all this was happening, things looked different back then. And then when she's 10 and when she was 15 and now she's 23, what is it? So in my will, there's been changes relating to what that looks like for her down the track in the event that the unfortunate happens. But doing the reviews is also really important.
Yeah, as your life changes, so should all the other elements around your life. And sometimes we have this set and forget mentality. Like, I've done a will, I've got insurance, it's fine. That'll hold me in good stead. Again, I'm biased. Everyone's listening to this. This is a financial planning podcast, right? So understand that I come from a place of bias, but I also come from a place of personal experience. So like you, Karen, having have lost a spouse, I've seen my brothers who have passed, leaving their partners. It's important that those things are not just glossed over. Yeah. And that's why we take very seriously that idea of continuing to review our client's situation and make sure that they're going to be okay. So maybe you've sort of jumped ahead to some of our reviews that we have over the course of the last 20 years. So like we catch up every 12 months?
Every 12 months, yeah.
Every 12 months we're catching up, but I think there's been times when we've caught up more often than that. Is there anything else, like in terms of, if you're thinking about people listening to this, so you're thinking about someone that's got a young family, what message do you want to leave them? What advice would you give them in terms of a young family, similar situation that you and Paul were, and maybe it hasn't even entered their mind the thought of what would we do without each other?
Yeah, firstly have those conversations with each other and make sure your wills are done, your super is allocated to who you want it to go to. What is it called where you do that?
Okay, so the beneficiary nomination can either be, we're getting a little bit technical here, but as you know.
These are conversations we've had over the years, isn't it?
The conversation we've had, and they feel like.
I didn't know what I didn't know, and that was why I was coming to you for the information.
So without getting bogged down in some of the personal circumstances for anyone, there's a distinct difference between the types of beneficiary nominations people have on their super. And what can sometimes complicate things is where you maybe have a blended family situation and, relationships and children from previous relationships. for anyone, that can present as a potential issue in the future. What people don't know, if you don't have an appropriate nomination of beneficiary on your super, you leave the discretion for where that money is to be paid up to the super fund. And that can be fine. Yeah, the super funds are generally reasonable and they'll direct things in the most appropriate way. But it can also present some challenges, and it can sometimes present some challenges that are maybe not in the intent of what someone would like to see happen in the event of their death. So
that happened to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back in the day when you had multiple supers, there was a super fund that Paul had that didn't have a binding nomination. Is that what it's called?
Correct.
Yep. And it went to his dependents, which were the 2 older children. And because they were underage, it actually went to their mother. And she was supposed to keep it in trust for them, which meant all she had to do was open up a bank account that said in trust for, which she did. And she held on to it for a little while, and then she spent it.
Yeah. And that is a prime example of where the intended recipients of a death benefit nomination can unfortunately be cut out of the loop of what was intended for them. And that is not uncommon. Like, that is not an uncommon scenario. And it's not until you actually start to think, and I will have yesterday, and I think my whiteboard is still there, it's not on camera, but I actually had this conversation with clients. I literally asked them the question. I said, if in the event that you were to pass away, what would you want your spouse to do? And so they ran through kind of their thought process. I'd like this money to go to there, and this amount of money to pay off debt, and we would sell this asset. It's not until you actually have people play out that mental game, it's probably not the right terminology, but that sort of hypothetical scenario, that you can see it and poke some holes in it, you know. And so when you see people say things like, yep, I want my super to go to my kids from a previous relationship, we've got to then explain, okay, well, if that's what you want to happen, here's the potential risks that are associated with it. And when we're having these conversations with people, again, honestly, for the first time, people glaze over. It's almost like, this is totally irrelevant. I'm here to talk about investing or buying a property or
retirement in 30 years.
Yes. So they've got very little brain capacity and space for a conversation around a beneficiary type on a superannuation. The reality is that most people will have the large portion of their insurances held within super. So the biggest portion of what will make up their death benefit in the event they were to pass away, in a lot of instances, is sitting in superannuation. So that decision, that small decision point about how that money is directed in the event of someone's passing, is, in many instances, the most important decision. So if that conversation is not had, and for anyone listening to this, I would say, if you're listening to this, the first conversation is to turn to your spouse and say, do we know what we would do in the event that something was to happen? If the question is, no, I'm not quite sure, pause and have a longer conversation. Say, well, let's do a bit of a stock take. What have we got? Like, what have we got in terms of assets? What have we got in terms of debt? If I died, and I use Kari and myself as an example, if I died, Kari, what would you want to happen? Well, I want to stay here where we live. All right, well, what are we going to need to do? Well, we're going to need to pay out the mortgage. So I better make sure we've got enough life insurance to pay out the mortgage. Guess what? If Jay's not here, the other thing that doesn't exist is Jay's income from employment. With 5 kids, a mortgage, and, expenses, I better make sure that I insure for that. And so this simple conversation, which can start with just, a chat over coffee, might lead you to actually sit down with someone like myself and ideally preempt the way you and I met.
Yep.
Which was after the fact.
After the fact, yep.
Where we didn't have the opportunity to go back in time and say,
yeah,
hey, Paul and Karen, let's make sure that we're appropriately insured for that that worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I know they're pretty morbid conversations. They can be, but I think that there's people out there that will hear this for the first time, having not experienced loss in their life. And
I don't want people to learn the hard way. So again, the conversations I have with my friends, like, do you have this insurance? Do you have income protection insurance? You know, I probably sound like a bit of a broken record, but I don't bring it up. If they bring it up, we're talking about, you know, this and that. I might sling it into the conversation because it is very important.
But it's how powerful it is coming from you. I mean, you're not an insurance salesman.
No,
You're a
lived experience.
You're a lived experience of a wife who became a widow with a young daughter who had to grapple through life and work out how you muddle through with complications of blended families and previous relationships. And fortunately, as you said, I'd consider you a pretty stoic individual. That's how I'd describe you. You said before that you've never really got stuck in a hole. Like you've kind of just battled on.
Yeah, keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe separate to the financial aspects, because I think we've given people enough context on the importance of that. But maybe from a personal aspect, maybe someone out there that's listening to this that has actually lost a loved one, similar situation to you, they're left with, you know, a young family to battle through. You're able to pick yourself up and continue on. I know some of it might be, I'm pretty sure that some of that is baked into your personality. But what advice would you give to people in terms of continuing to move on?
I think when you're caught in the moment, you know, you have the passing away and in a funeral and everyone's around, it makes like things happen with people around. That's when people start to fade away and get back to their lives that you sort of have to find it within yourself. And then you work day to day, just what am I doing here? Maybe have a little plan of something, you know, weeks ahead that you can look forward to, whether it's catch up with friends or, for me, Cassidy would go and have a sleepover somewhere. So I was like, I don't have to get up at 6 a.m. That's, you know, great for me back in the day. But yeah, just making sure you've got something to look forward to that fills your bucket. Yeah.
Cassidy was a pretty good metric of something to look forward to, wasn't she?
Yeah. Yeah. And she was a good girl. She was always happy and busy. And yeah, she certainly helped me a lot.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned before that Cassidy and Cody, who, again, shared their own similar stories of having lost parents, actually went to school together for a bunch of time. They weren't best of friends, but they were.
I think they were in the 1-2 class together.
Yep.
Yeah, because then Cassidy left in grade 2, and yeah, Cody being older wouldn't have worked out then. But yeah, I think they're in the 1-2 grade together.
Yeah. Now, Cody's turned out okay. He'll be listening to this. He's turned out okay as a human. No, Cody's turned out exceptionally well for a young man that has lost both of his parents. How's Cassidy tracking? Actually, I'll talk to you about Cassidy off air, but
oh yeah,
she owes me a phone call.
Yeah, she does. No, she's going really, really well. She's she lives up in Newcastle now with her boyfriend. So she did year 12. 2020, so COVID year, living in a bedroom and online, and then decided that she didn't want to do that anymore the following year. Went over to overseas for a year to London and met her boyfriend over there who's from Newcastle in New South Wales. So they lived down in Melbourne for a year. Then they decided they'd go back and live up there. And next semester for uni, she's going to be in the Netherlands. So she gets out and about. They've just come back from Japan and she's a mover and a shaker as well. So yeah.
What does Cassidy have memories of, Paul?
She has memories of what she sees on the video, I think, back in the day when you'd record things and photos. But, yeah, probably not super clear because she was only little. But, yeah, she talks about some things occasionally. Yeah.
And you knowing Paul, would he be proud of Cassidy where she's at today?
Oh, so proud.
Yep.
Yeah. She's definitely got his work ethic, his zest for life, that sort of stuff. So, geez, God, you hit me with the hard questions. He would definitely be very proud of her, and I'm very proud of her too. She's amazing.
Yeah, it's. I know it's a it's hypothetical. Like you're thinking about how, but it gets me a lot when I think about how, the people that we've lost would think about the legacy that they've left, and the good nature that they've left in their offspring. And even, as I said earlier, Paul did a lot of things right. Like he did a lot of things right. If I got a hold of him maybe 10 years earlier and he was seeing an advisor, I would have sharpened some edges around things. But I would still say a hats off to Paul for obviously what he left in terms of Cassidy, but also in terms of what he was able to do in terms of leaving you in a position to be able to continue forward. So.
Yeah, I was lucky I didn't have to sell a house. I didn't have to move. I didn't have to make any major financial decisions, which that's another thing. If I meet someone who's in that situation, it's like if you don't have to make any major financial decisions in the first 12 months, don't. Yeah.
That's a good piece of advice. And you know what? Again, we said Paul did some things he did a lot of things right. And one of them was make sure that you're in a position where you could have that time, where you had the time to not have to make major financial decisions in a short period of time. And when I'm talking to clients, I was mentioning that client that I spoke to yesterday, most people think, they go, I'll just sell some assets. Like I'll just sell a house. Or guess what? In real time, you've just lost a loved one. You've got all of the other things in your world are caving in. You're not going to be wanting to sell a house
set up as a campaign and staging or whatever.
No, you want time.
Yeah.
You want time. You want some space. You need to be able to think. You need to be able to spend some time with family, with your kids. Again, that's where boring things like insurance can give you that time. They're not so boring when you can put them into practice.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about life now.
Yep.
So we're now nearly 20 years post Paul's passing. What does life look like for Karen now? What are you doing?
So I'm still teaching. I teach 4 days a week at a kindergarten that's local in Geelong, and I live with my partner. So I've repartnered, and we caravan on the weekends quite a bit. Like the long weekends, we take away our caravan with a group of friends. We go to the footy as well. We're Cats members.
You going tonight?
We're going tonight, yes.
Yeah, I was going to go. I'm a Bombers supporter. I just thought we're going to get packed.
Yeah. Just watch it from home.
Yeah.
So we do that. We like he's also lost his dad in the last 3 years, and they were later in life, planning their caravan holidays and stuff. So he saw what his dad didn't get to do. And so, when we bought our van, 5-6 years ago now, we were like, well, we don't want to be, in our 70s missing out on those times. So we're doing it now as we start to turn 50.
Yeah.
Making sure we enjoy
happy birthday for a week and how many days?
And a day.
Week and a day. So happy birthday, Karen.
Done.
You do like your travel.
Yep.
When we catch up for review, but generally we hear the school kids walking down Paco at the moment. I was wondering what that noise was.
I heard that too.
Yeah. You taught are they Kidinia kids? No.
No, they're the Lutheran kids.
No, we don't want to talk to them. You love travel.
Yes.
Where have you travelled recently, and where are you planning to travel to in the near future? Always love some travel tips.
Yeah, so caravanning or big holidaying?
Both.
Caravanning, we went to a place called Strath Creek, which is the bottom of the mountains, like snowfields sort of thing there.
Whereabouts in Victoria?
Yeah, in Victoria, just Flowerdale Way sort of thing.
Yep.
And we spend the weekend there for King's birthday weekend in the cold and the rain.
And you love it?
We love it, yep. Have a nice fire and some good clothes and you're good to go. But we also went with, I think there was 10 caravans. So we have a bigger group of friends that, we get away with. So that's awesome. September school holidays, we're going to Vietnam.
Nice. Is that a return to Vietnam or this is the first time to Vietnam?
I've been twice.
Yep.
Cam hasn't been yet.
Yeah.
So we have friends that live over there and they'll be planning to move back to
Aussies that live over there?
Yeah, yep. Geelong friends that I actually met from Kidinia as well when Cassidy was at school with their daughter. They'll move back in a couple of years. So I want to get Cam over there to see where they live because I actually love the way that they live over there. It's very It's just outside Ho Chi Minh, but it's pretty busy but not busy. And
You're telling me that we're going to retire? We have to talk about retiring to Vietnam? Is that
no. Well, I don't know. I don't know where we'll retire, but could be on the cards. And then in November we'll go to Bali. So we do have a few things on the go.
How long are you in Bali for?
Just a week. So we'll head over there when Cam turns 50. And we've got a bunch of friends coming over with that for that as well.
Cool. You mentioned, I don't think we're recording, but you said to me, I've turned 50, now I have to start thinking about retirement. Before we close out, we talked about sort of the early stages of life and family. How do you think about retirement? What does retirement mean to you?
I don't know. But I've still got a little bit of time to think about it and make it sort of come to fruition, which we're working on. And I don't know. I don't know where that will be or what it will be. We'll probably still be in the house where we are now. It's a pretty good setup for us. I don't know. It depends where the kids are, because Cam's got 2 girls as well. So, they could be. Yeah, we talk about going somewhere warmer, but then it means leaving all of our friends that we holiday with and enjoy our time together with and do our Christmas in Julys. And
does retirement look like continuing to work part-time, or finishing work altogether, or?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to have another review and we can chat about that.
Well, what's interesting, everything's interesting to me, but what's interesting is that most people don't really have a clear picture of what retirement looks like for them. Like you've been a client for 20 years and people are still like assessing what is life actually going to look like. And I've tried to kind of define this as much as I could, but I think for most people, retirement is getting to that place sooner rather than later, where if you're working, it's because you choose to, not because you have to.
Yeah.
So that you then have that lifestyle freedom, because I've got plenty of clients that have retired but are working. Like they've mentally, they know that they can afford to live in Vietnam or travel for 6 months of the year, but they choose to because they're social animals, they're involved in their community. They choose to continue to work.
Yeah, that is a nice way to do it, isn't it? Yeah. All right, I'll note that down and
duly noted.
Yeah.
Well, Karen, as per usual, I mean, we would probably do a podcast every time we catch up for our reviews, because I know we talk.
We do 2 hours and about 15 minutes of financials, and then an hour and 45 of chat.
It's awesome to have you on. I know it's 2 years overdue. Always love chatting with you. Thank you for sharing your story and Paul's legacy. And I'm sure anyone that listens to this who's either in your position or who's hopefully not ever in your position, but actually prompts a conversation with them to talk to their partner, talk to their spouse about making sure they're okay. I think this will be well worth it. So thanks again for your time. And I look forward to having you back on for a round 2 where we can talk all things retirement, holidays, whatever you want.
Thanks for letting me share. Thanks,
Karen. Cheers. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're keen to understand more about how financial advice could benefit you, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Burke Britton FP, or Google Burke Britton Financial Partners. Check out our client reviews, testimonials, and make a time to meet one of our certified financial planners by clicking Book Now on our website. Thanks for listening.
Any information contained in this podcast is of a general nature only. No account was taken as to the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. Therefore, before making any decision, listeners should consider the appropriateness of any information with regard to their particular objective, financial situation, needs, and seek independent advice from a licensed professional specific to their circumstances.
All right, hit it.
That translates to don't be a moron and act on what some random person says on a podcast. Take personal responsibility, do your homework, ask questions, and speak to an actual human that knows what they're talking about before you do anything. PP Financial Solutions Proprietary Limited, trading as Burke Britton Financial Partners, are authorised representatives of AMP Financial Planning Limited, AFS, licence number 232706.